In 1953, a single suitcase of cash changed the history of an entire nation. A secret blueprint was discovered that would change the course of history. The world was in the grip of the Cold War, a conflict not of open warfare, but of ideological battles and power plays. Two titans, the United States and the Soviet Union, stood on either side of a great divide, each vying for global dominance. In this tense climate, the specter of communism loomed large. The United States, in particular, was gripped by the fear that the domino effect of nations falling to communism would undermine their influence and upset the global balance of power. The stakes were high, and the battleground was the entire world, every nation a potential domino. At the heart of this struggle was not just military might, but the power of ideas and influence. The United States, under the auspices of the Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA, was looking for a new kind of weapon, one that could topple governments not with bullets and bombs, but with money, propaganda, and chaos. The year 1953 marked a turning point. The CIA discovered something terrifying yet powerful. You didn't need an army to overthrow a government. All you needed was the right strategy, the right tools, and the right circumstances. This realization led to the development of a secret blueprint, a step-by-step guide to regime change that didn't require a single soldier to set foot on foreign soil. This blueprint, this new form of warfare, was as potent as it was invisible. It was a game changer, a tool that would shape the course of history in ways that are still felt to this day. This was the dawn of a new era, an era of covert operations, of puppet masters and shadowy tactics. But as powerful as this blueprint was, it was also a source of great fear. The world was entering uncharted territory, a new kind of battlefield where the lines between friend and foe, between right and wrong, were blurred. This fear would lead to a new kind of warfare, a secret war. The mastermind behind this secret war was none other than Allen Dulles, director of the CIA. Dulles, a man whose name would become synonymous with the clandestine and the covert, was a firm believer in the power of secrecy and manipulation. Having taken the helm of the CIA in the early 1950s, he swiftly began to put his own stamp on the agency and its operations. Dulles was a man of depth and intrigue, a seasoned diplomat and spy who had cut his teeth in the murky world of World War II intelligence. He was no stranger to the cloak and dagger world of espionage, and he brought this experience to bear in his new role. As director, he oversaw a dramatic expansion of the CIA's covert operations, pushing the agency into new and uncharted territory. But it wasn't just about expansion. Dulles had a vision, a new way of thinking about the Cold War and the struggle against communism, while others were focused on traditional diplomacy and military might. Dulles saw an opportunity for something different, something subtler. He believed in the power of covert influence, the ability to shape events from behind the scenes, to pull the strings without ever being seen. This belief in covert power wasn't just theoretical. Dulles put it into practice, launching a series of secret operations that would come to define the CIA's approach during the Cold War. These weren't just spy games. They were attempts to reshape the political landscape, to tilt the balance of power in favor of the United States. At the heart of this strategy was an idea, a blueprint for regime change. This wasn't about marching in with an army and overthrowing a government. It was about manipulation, about using money, propaganda, and chaos to achieve the desired result. It was about making the enemy tear itself apart from the inside. Under his leadership, the CIA began experimenting with a new strategy, a blueprint for regime change. This blueprint, this secret strategy for overthrowing governments, would be the legacy of Allen Dulles. It was a new kind of warfare, one that would shape the course of history in the shadows. In 1953, this blueprint was put to the test in Iran. A nation rich in history, culture, and oil, Iran had become an arena of international intrigue. It was here that the CIA would test their secret blueprint for regime change. Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, a national hero and champion of democracy, had nationalized Iran's oil industry, stepping on the toes of Western powers. This bold move sent ripples of concern through Washington and London. They feared a Soviet puppet state in the heart of the Middle East. Something had to be done. Enter Operation Ajax, a covert CIA mission, the likes of which the world had never seen. The CIA, under the watchful eye of Allen Dulles, began to implement their secret blueprint. The first step was to fund opposition groups, bribing politicians, military officers, and anyone else who could stir the pot of political instability. Next, the gears of propaganda started turning. The CIA infiltrated newspapers and radio stations, using them as megaphones to amplify fears of a communist takeover. They painted Mossadegh as a Soviet sympathizer, slowly turning public opinion against him. Then came the chaos. CIA agents paid groups to create havoc in the streets of Tehran. Protests erupted, clashes intensified, and uncertainty reigned. The country was on the brink of anarchy, and Mossadegh's government was losing control. Finally, the CIA lent its support to a new government, one that would be more amenable to Western interests. In the midst of the chaos, the Shah, who had been in exile, returned to Iran. Mossadegh was arrested, and the Shah took the throne. Within days, Mossadegh's government collapsed. The CIA had learned something powerful. Coups could be engineered. The blueprint had worked. Iran was a proof of concept, the first successful test of a method that would be replicated in many corners of the world in the years to come. The age of covert warfare had begun. With the success of Operation Ajax, the CIA developed a formula for covert regime change. It was a recipe cooked up in the shadows, away from the public eye, a secret blueprint that would change the course of history. They had discovered that they didn't need an army to overthrow a government. All they needed were a few key ingredients. The first of these ingredients was funding opposition groups. By financing these groups, the CIA could foster dissent from within, destabilizing governments without ever having to set foot on foreign soil. It was a subtle kind of warfare, one that was fought behind closed doors and in hushed whispers. The second ingredient in this clandestine recipe was controlling the narrative through propaganda. By manipulating the information that was disseminated to the public, the CIA could sway public opinion to their favor. It was a game of perception, and the CIA were the puppet masters, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. The third ingredient was creating political instability. The CIA understood that a government in chaos was a government ripe for overthrowing. By sowing discord and fostering unrest, they could pave the way for a new regime, one that was more favorable to their interests. The final ingredient in this blueprint for regime change was supporting a new government. Once the existing government was successfully overthrown, the CIA would step in to back the new regime, ensuring that the new leaders were sympathetic to their cause. This was the CIA's secret blueprint for regime change. It was a playbook that was born out of the ashes of Operation Ajax, a strategy that was as effective as it was ruthless. This playbook was not just a theoretical concept. It was a practical guide that was implemented time and time again. This playbook would shape covert operations for decades. It was a game changer, a new kind of warfare that was fought not on the battlefield, but in the corridors of power. It was a war of shadows, a war of deception, a war that would forever change the face of global politics. In 1954, the same blueprint was used again in Guatemala. Operation PB success marked another chapter in the CIA's clandestine operations. This was not a simple repeat of the Iranian coup. The CIA upped their game, employing psychological warfare as a new weapon in their arsenal. They staged fake radio broadcasts, spread rumors of impending rebel armies, and coordinated a propaganda campaign that sowed seeds of fear and uncertainty. All these tactics were aimed at destabilizing the government, creating an environment ripe for change. And change did come. The Guatemalan government, unable to withstand the manufactured chaos, began to crumble. The CIA's invisible hand had once again successfully manipulated the course of a nation's history. Within weeks, the Guatemalan government collapsed. The blueprint worked again. Operation Ajax in Guatemala became the foundation of modern covert operations. These clandestine maneuvers, executed with a level of precision and subtlety that would make a chess grandmaster blush, set the stage for a new era of covert warfare. They provided the blueprint, a formula that was replicated and refined throughout the Cold War. From the jungles of Southeast Asia to the political cauldrons of South America, the influence of these operations was felt far and wide. Wherever the Cold War chessboard extended, the shadowy hand of this secret blueprint was there, moving and shaping events from behind the scenes. These operations showed the world that warfare was no longer just about soldiers and bullets. It was about influence, manipulation, and control. But the true scale remained buried in classified archives. History remembers wars fought in the open, but some of the most powerful battles were fought in the shadows.